so far as I'm concerned, I'm gonna do my very best to serve and honor and elevate in any way I can Jon Stewart and the Green Lantern Corps.
I love the movie. Now, there's a whole generation who were traumatized by the death of Mufasa. So when you guys were making this...
We're right here.
Yeah, we're all here. Did you guys consider that there are going to be kids who watch Mufasa first and then watch Lion King, and it's going to make it so much worse for them?
I never thought
I
about
hadn't
that.
even thought about that. Wow.
I never thought about. Well, that's really traumatizing. Yes, that's going to be very.
It's just Game of Thrones for kids
yes,
now.
Yes.
I think that's exciting.
I think it is
He's
too.
all about it.
Just rip their little hearts out, really prepare them for the real world.
And they just go, that's the best.
They were friends.
Like, you see how it feels to be an adult? Remember this moment.
No, I love that. Now, Aaron, can you speak to what you took most from James Earl Jones' performance and tried to implement into yours best you could?
Yes, sir, absolutely. I think what I took the most was inspiration and guidance. And that's true to James Earl Jones, period, you know, in regards to him as an artist and his artistry. But especially with this, I was inspired and took guidance by his original 1994 portrayal. And my responsibility, my job, was to try and discover who the adolescent version of that so strong and secure and grounded and centered and level character was.
Yep.
So any fear I had actually served me because it allowed me to sort of implement that into, you know, an adolescent who doesn't quite have it all figured out in the same way. But yeah, it was James Earl Jones' unmatched and iconic portrayal was my guiding light.
No, the thing about James I've always thought is he's just got this powerful calmness to him, which I thought you really brought also to Mufasa.
Thank you.
No, I really loved it. Also, I gotta say, I know you cannot talk much about Green Lantern.
Yes, sir.
And I have to ask about Green Lantern. So what can you safely tease?
I was actually so excited.
What can you
coming.
safely tease about lanterns that won't get either of us in trouble?
Wow, not much. But what I can tell you is that the team are just super, super excited to have this opportunity to bring this story to the people. And so far as I'm concerned, I'm gonna do my very best to serve and honor and elevate in any way I can Jon Stewart and the Green Lantern Corps. And hopefully I serve that and it resonates with the people.
Can you at least tell me what your Green Lantern homework's looking like?
Extensive.
Now, the script obviously gives you guys insights on your characters, but how did the music shape your understanding of who you're playing?
I feel like Lin gave me this little miniature ballad that it kind of felt like a little bit like Phantom of the Opera, and I was like, wait a second, there's a longing here. There's like this longing in my guy that because there was like first set of sessions, and then there was the sessions after the Lin era.
Right.
And so then I was like,
Right.
And I was like, oh, I have a different like want in how I'm gonna portray this character now that I've sung this song. So he brought a drama and a romanticism to Taka that I didn't necessarily tap into at first.
I don't want to spoil anything either for the movie, but there is a moment where your singing becomes much more sinister. Mm-hmm. So what was it like for you to, learn how to sing, not as yourself, but as Scar?
That was really hard, honestly, because of the accent part of it all. And then there was like actually hitting the notes. And I wasn't always hitting the notes at first.
You a liar.
It was so high.
Keep lying.
I'm a baritone. I was a bass at one point, believe it
He
or
was sitting
not.
them notes, was he not?
Right, he sure
Right.
was.
Well,
I heard it for myself. You were hitting
I
up.
was doing my best, and because at one point I asked him to lower the key, he said, "Please, respectfully, don't do that to my work." But yeah, it was difficult. But Lin was right there with me. He was literally almost like holding my hand. It was like he was talking and I was talking at the same time. So that made it much easier.
Now, last question for you guys. Do you think we'll ever come full circle of life and maybe get an animated remake of Mufasa?
Oh, that's crazy. I don't know.
That's a beautiful idea.
I
Yeah.
like that idea.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
I'm game. I think we should do all the things. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that would be awesome. Guys, I really love the movie, so thank you so much for your
Thank you,
time.
sir.
I really
Thank you.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Hey,
Thank
man.
you so much.
Look, first off, I'm going to apologize how squinty I'm going to be this
I'm
whole
squinting
interview.
too.
Oh,
it's very bright out here.
It's terrible. We have light eyes.
I
and,
know.
Yeah, I think they're
I know. They
sunburnt
didn't think
already.
about us with
no,
light eyes up this
no, they did
junket.
not. Now, do you think that we're ever going to get to a point when it comes full circle of life and we get an animated remake of Mufasa?
God, I hope so. As long as they call me, I'll do anything. I'll do it in black and white. Whatever they want me to do. We'll do like a teleplay like in the 50s with actors on a stage. I've lost everyone watching already. But yeah, I'm up for all of it. Just keep adapting and readapting.
I was fully in tune with you. I loved everything you were pitching. If I was Disney, I'd be like, let's make it all.
Exactly.
Now, there's a whole generation who are still traumatized by the death of Mufasa. So when you guys were making this, did you consider the fact that there are going to be kids watching this first and then watching Lion King, and how much worse it's going to be for them?
Wow, I actually didn't think about that.
It's just Game of Thrones for kids now.
Wow, they're going to watch... Right, because I guess if you're 8 or 9 or 10, maybe you're seeing Mufasa before you've seen The Lion King. But if you have good parents, they've already shown you The Lion King to prepare you, so you understand all the nuance and the context.
No, I want kids that are going to watch it Mufasa first, then Lion King.
Exactly.
Just have their little hearts ripped out.
That's interesting. Yeah, I haven't thought about that. They should interview those kids.
Now, I didn't get to talk to you for The Lion King, so can I compliment your falsetto?
Oh, wow. Thank you. I appreciate that.
No, it's wonderful. It's like a fresh breath of helium. I was so impressed when I heard it the first time.
I'll take that.
One thing I loved about this is, I don't want to spoil anything, but there's a spot where Timon and Pumba are telling the story, and things with Scar go very differently, and I love that. So would you have any interest in doing maybe some shorts with Timon and Pumba where they're the heroes of their own story?
Shorts? I want a whole series. I want a musical. Why stop at shorts? Yeah, no, I love playing Timon, and I love working with Seth Rogen. There are bugs. I mean, we're
out of our element.
We're in the wilderness here. Put me back in the Four Seasons where I belong. You know what I mean?
I'm a cave person.
What was I gonna say? But yeah, I would do anything with Seth and these characters. It's so fun to work with him. And when we're in the studio, it doesn't feel that different than working on a more traditional live action movie.
Now, relieved or disappointed that Timon and Pumbaa didn't have a full musical number in Mufasa?
Disappointed. And I've known Lin-Manuel for over 20 years, and he's heard it from me. He's heard my complaints. And I told him I need him to build an entire cabaret act around Timon next time.
Now, since Seth isn't here to answer for himself, would you say Seth farts more or less than Pumbaa in real life?
I would say less. I think Pumbaa's really leaned into that as like part of his shtick. Yeah, I think Seth is a little more elevated.
I'm sorry that I even asked that question, but
that's okay.
I just felt like I couldn't pass it up with Seth not being here to defend himself.
There you go.
But you were really nice. You're like a good friend and like really took up for him.
Yes.
You're a very good person. I can tell this in the 5 minutes that we've known each other.
Thank you. The jury's out on you, but it's promising.
I understand. I'm honestly so distracted by this sunlight in my eyes right now that I'm not even sure what you said.
I know, it's okay.
Billy, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, sir.
I love the movie, and I cannot wait to take my family to see it, so thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Do you think we'll ever get to a point where we'll come full circle of life and get an animated remake of Mufasa?
I don't know. Don't put anything past the Walt Disney Company. They might just do it. Don't threaten them with a good idea. No, I'm holding out for a live-action remake of Lion King 1.5.
I knew this was coming.
Oh, yep.
Because you know what? That's the Rosencrantz and Guildenstern of the extended Lion King universe. And it's low-key great.
Yeah, I'm actually glad that you brought that up because I wanted to know, Barry, like The Lion King is a loose adaptation of Hamlet. So were there any other Shakespearean influences for Mufasa?
No, not that I know of. I mean, Jeff Nathanson, who wrote the 2019 remake, Catch Me If You Can, quite a few other films, he sort of went into the basement, and sort of dug up this story of Mufasa. He sort of was just very curious about how this guy came to be. So you'd have to ask him.
Yeah, I would say, though, I feel like it plucks those same ancient chords. Like when we see that original Lion King, we think of Shakespeare, we think of the Bible. I mean, when, not to give away spoilers, but when Taka is giving away Mufasa's location and putting, it. To me, it really strikes a lot of biblical overtones in the storytelling.
Now, there's a whole generation who were traumatized by Mufasa's death. So when you guys were making this, did you ever consider that there are going to be kids who are going to watch this first and then watch The Lion King, and it's going to be so much worse for them?
It's a little of the Star Wars prequel conundrum.
It's like the Game of Thrones for kids. You're going to tear their little hearts out.
But you know what I love? You see on social media these videos, and the parents are just like devious, but parents are filming their kids watching The Lion King for the first time. And after that scene, I love what always happens is the kid comes over to the parent and then wants to talk about what happened. And I think that's a really beautiful thing. It's the first time they're really thinking about the complexity of what it might be like to lose a loved one.
Yeah, no, I think it's actually a safe place to be able to talk about all that stuff. And also the other thing I love about this movie, when you're talking about trauma and what we talk about, is I think what we also grew up with was Scar was a bad guy, Mufasa was the good guy, and this movie like complicates all that and scrambles all that, because we meet them when they're just devoted, crazy about each other brothers, and it allows me to talk to my kids about like, there aren't just good guys and bad guys. We're all doing our best, and we're a collection of our choices and our experiences.
Lynn, I wanted to ask, have you had an opportunity to let Sir Elton John listen to your music for Mufasa yet?
No, he's been so busy. I mean, he literally opened 2 shows, one on Broadway and one in the West End, in the past few months between Devil Wears Prada and Tammy Faye. So I haven't had a chance to like circle back with him.
I also wanted to ask, do you have a favorite moment in the film where you feel like especially proud of how the music elevated the story?
I mean, one, Jeff's script was so great that I felt like it really took care to make space for the music. Sometimes that's an afterthought. It's like, hey, can you write some songs to make this musical? And that's really not how it works. So I felt very well taken care of by the script. But I was proud of the villain song. That was one I pitched.
I love that one too.
That's the one I pitched to Barry, and I was like, please let me write dance hall tunes for Mads Mikkelsen.
On the subject of that, like, which of the cast most surprised you with their singing ability? Was it Mads?
Mads was great, but I had his voice in my head from the many villains he's played, so I wasn't surprised by the ferocity he brought to it. I was really pleasantly thrilled by Tiffany and Aaron, who play Sarabi and Mufasa. Aaron was like really downplaying his singing. He's like, I've only ever sung in church. And then he came in and was just, I mean, it's
crushed it.
It's like a love ballad. He really delivered.
Oh, everybody was fantastic in this. I thought the singing is so good.
Oh,
I think I know the answer to this, but just for fun, I want to know, what was the thought process behind having Beyonce and not writing a new song for her?
It's just torture for me. I think it was like, here's how close you can get to Milele, and you're going to stay on this side of the mountain.
I love the theme of wanting to know more about your grandparents. That meant a lot to me, because I don't feel like we see a lot of that in these sorts of films. Like, for example, like my dad passed away before I had my son, so my son never met his grandpa and everything. And so I was just thinking about that last night when I watched the movie about how beautiful that sort of theme is. And did that affect either one of you personally in a way like that?
It affected me personally. When I took the job, I love the frame story, because I think kids are looking, where am I in the story? And they can literally see themselves in Kiara. Mufasa's larger than life, and Rafiki is explaining to her, your granddad was a person just like you, and he became great through all these experiences. And I think I love that you use this term grandfather. I was talking to Bob Iger, about this film through the process of making it. And it was something, this conversation between Rafiki and Kiara about Mufasa was something that we connected over. And it was really lovely to sort of go in and sort of build that, because I do think this movie is the Lion King, speaking of. You have people 4 years old, people 104 watching it. And I love that there's this shared spectrum of experience through this conversation you're talking about. It's a really lovely observation.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for your time. I love the movie.
Thank you.
Thank you, bro.